Now, WJC's Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome into Purple Playbook. I'm Alex Glaze, joined as always by two-time Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith. A lot to get to this week. We have new uniforms to discuss. And we also have a draft to discuss as we get ready for the 2026 draft, the first draft under new head coach Jesse Minter. But Torrey, we got to start with the thing everyone wants to talk about, and that is these new uniforms. And we actually have one right here, the road white, which is one of my favorites.
Clean, yes.
I mean,
I loved it.
When we look at the jerseys, just kind of which one stands out to you, or is there one that stands out?
Oh man,
to
I think well, first of all, let's talk about the event itself.
Right.
The uniform reveal wasn't just a photo that was leaked. It was an event over in Columbia at it was Meriwether Post Pavilion. Beautiful facility, and it was packed. You had legends there, Terrell Suggs, Matt Stover, like so many great guys that have been a part of the history and worn multiple jerseys here. And then you see them coming on out. I mean, oh man, it was special to watch, and the fan reaction was really cool as well.
I was talking to some Ravens officials yesterday, and that is the first thing I said. It was just when they posted that it was going to be at Meriwether, I was like, I haven't been there in a while, but that's a pretty big venue. But that thing was packed out. And these were all just rabid fans, just excited to take it all in, take in this new regime and this new era of Ravens football. But when we're looking at the uniforms, the black, we got to talk about the black helmet, first of all. And the black on black uniform is going to be an alternate. That is what stood out to me, the new helmet. We're seeing it right there.
Beautiful.
With the red eyes. I love that.
Oh yeah, the matte black, you can't go wrong with it. Honestly, it's tough to mess up an all black uniform, but this helmet really took it to the next level. The little trim in there, I love it. I literally, with Trey came walking out, I could have jumped up and chest bumped it myself. But it was awesome just watching it come together. But the white, like you have right here.
Yeah.
Oof.
Baltimore across the chest. Baltimore
my
across the
goodness.
chest. I love that because this is the road uniform.
Oh my goodness, look at this. The trim, and this isn't even the stitched one. When you see it up close, this is what most fans will have. Beautiful jersey, by the way. I actually have one. Nice, love it. However, when the stitching, to see how it reflects, it's just a little bit different. They did a great job with it.
Yeah, in all, I just think that the uniform collection as well, it's about what I expected. I wouldn't say it was underwhelming, overwhelming. It was probably on par with what I was expecting because, just typical for the Ravens, right? You're not going to deviate too far away from what you already have. And the Ravens, I think, already had one of the best, if not the best uniform in football. They have one of the best color combinations. So this is about what I expected. If you don't like them, you probably were expecting more, but that was never going to happen.
But it's not college, right? And you have to settle in on that. That's what I've had to do. Like, you're not watching the University of Maryland, where you have a little bit more flexibility, and Under Armour's been doing their thing with the uniforms there. You have to know that at the professional level, everything's subtle. So I didn't have a chance to see the uniform until at the opening, like everyone else. I actually got a glance at it because the bag was open, so I saw the white one a little early. However, when you go and you look into what it really takes to have a uniform, I just looked at everyone else around the league. There were multiple teams that announced their new uniforms, and everything was subtle. Right, and I was like, "There's no way you're gonna dramatically change anyway." And similar to the Ravens, right? Like, the Ravens' way is to be consistent. If you have something that already looks good, you don't go out there and try to reinvent the wheel. And it looked really good what they did. Little subtle changes that stands out, and especially watching the older guys who played in multiple jerseys, like Peter Boulware, those guys were like, man, this is awesome. So it was really cool to watch the reaction from them, but also the fans that were in the stands.
And I think everyone is just happy, no gold pants. We don't have to see those anymore.
That's the only thing. They need to burn those
no gold pants.
For the rest of our lives, ever.
Saw them once,
ever.
And we're good.
Good to go.
But as you mentioned, this was an event, and before the jersey reveal, we did get to hear from the coaches on this staff, right? And this is really the first time that Jesse Minter and the coordinators spoke directly to Ravens fans. And with the draft less than a week away now, Jesse was asked by Peter Schrager of ESPN, what should fans expect for the Ravens to do at 14? This is going to be his first draft, and here's what he said about the kind of player that he's looking to add to this roster.
Man, we're looking for somebody that's tough, that's smart, that's violent, that plays the game, and you can just, and we've said it earlier, you evaluate certain players, and it's like, does he play like a Raven? And everybody knows what that means. And so we want to draft, I think we have 11 picks. Maybe we end up with more, maybe we end up with less. But we want to draft a bunch of players that play like the Ravens, that will make you guys proud, and will help us put a team together to bring a championship back to Baltimore.
Bring a championship to Baltimore, play like a Raven, all things that I think Ravens fans love to hear. So now I have to ask you, as we're talking about this draft in 14, as a former receiver, got to ask you about the skill guys in this class. Just, is there a skill position player that you see the Ravens adding at 14 that would make this offense better?
I think I love that you pointed out.
There's a lot of needs.
Skill player, because there are a bunch of needs. And what fans have to understand when it comes to the draft, that you truly do want to draft the best possible player that feels a need, which means you may have a skill guy, right? That's the point. I know everyone and their mom is like, we should draft a lineman. I agree. You definitely need a lineman. However, if Jordan Tyson is there from Arizona State, he's a guy that I had the opportunity to see up close. Last year, Justin Jefferson had a camp, and some of the top high school receivers were there. I was able to coach in, and there was this guy in line. I'm like, oh my goodness, he looks like a pro out here. And it happened to be him just working out with those guys. And watching him, he's big, he's physical, he's very strong at attacking the ball. Watching the way he had his body control was special. He had a lot of elite traits. And when you have a guy that's capable of that, I know some people are going to be like, oh, well, he's had some injuries. Well, the guy's tough as nails. Had the opportunity to watch an interview actually the other day of Hines Ward answering a question about his toughness and, again, his personality. To me, I love, when you talk about playing like a Raven, they draft guys that are good people too. And he is that. So spending a couple days with him, watching him, the level he was able to compete at, and watching him just going through that's not even watching him versus like bodies all the way. That's just truly working out, which is what their evaluation process is right now. We all can look at their film, but I had a chance to view him like a scout would, up close. And he's a special talent. And if he's there, I think you take him without hesitation.
Yeah, and if you're in the Hines Ward stamp of approval, that certainly means something. But Kenyon Sadiq is a guy that some mock drafts also have mocked coming to Baltimore. You know that tight end room is pretty thin right now with Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kohler leaving and going on and getting paid in free agency, as they should, because they prove themselves. But is Kenyon Sadiq, I know people see tight end, not a premium position, 14. Some people might view that as a reach, but this is a guy that really, blew people away at the combine, right? 4.3 speed. I think it was a 42, 43 vert, the second best vertical all time for a tight end, just a freaky athlete. So this is not just a tight end. This is another Isaiah Likely This is just a playmaker.
Yeah, a more explosive Isaiah Likely, respectfully to Lil Bro, right? This guy has a lot of things.
And blocks in the run game. It takes pride in it.
I think he might be more athletic than I am. You know what I mean? I was considered an athletic receiver. This guy's like 40 pounds heavier, right? So you talk about a guy that you have to take a look at him. Not only, you're not looking right now. Anyone that's thinking short term doesn't truly understand the draft. You're drafting a guy that, yes, he can help now, but Mark Andrews is getting older. Mm-hmm. By the time he gets to the end of his contract, it's not going to be a situation where it's Isaiah Likely and you're going to have to choose, right? He should have the opportunity to be the one if he's there in time. So, again, if a playmaker like that exists, you have to continue to put guys around Lamar.
Absolutely. Well, we're talking about guys around Lamar. We need some guys up front to block for Lamar as well. And we're going to talk more drafts after a quick break, and we're going to get Torrey's thoughts on that 14th overall pick. And is there a lineman that he could see maybe getting in front of Lamar? The Ravens like at 14. Torrey shares his thoughts when we come back. You're watching Purple Playbook.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The winning prognosis, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. Care bravely.
And welcome back to Purple Playbook. Alex Glaze alongside two-time Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith. Getting ready for the NFL draft. We're just a couple days away now. The Ravens have the 14th overall pick. And this could go a lot of different ways when we're talking about addressing needs when it comes to guys that have left this team in free agency. A lot of holes on this roster right now. But Eric DeCosta says that when he's looking at the board, he feels that they can address a number of those needs, right? We're looking at a younger Eric DeCosta on the screen right now. But Torrey, when we're talking about these needs, offensive line has to be, I think, at the top of the list. When we're talking about, we go back to January, Steve Bisciotti's press conference. He called out the offensive line. The offensive line was inconsistent all year. Obviously, things start up front. And when we're talking about Lamar Jackson and long-term and, taking care of the asset that you hope is going to be here for years to come, you have to address the trenches for Lamar.
Yeah, absolutely. And truth be told, you want to do the majority of that with veterans and adding in a young guy. So I don't believe they're done signing players for now, for sure. But when it comes to this draft, they're going to have to draft at least 2 linemen in order to help compete. You need a mixture of youth, and hopefully one of those guys hit and they get in. As we've seen, it's been musical chairs for years due to health. So you consistently have to create it. But Mr. Bashadi was right to be upset. You know, the game is won and lost in the trenches, especially when you play in the AFC North. But it's been crazy because the team has still been able to run the ball. But it just hasn't been as consistent in passing. And Lamar still technically played at a super high level, minus last year, dipped there slightly. So you're going to have to protect him. Again, if you're going to invest that much into your quarterback and you have this window that's open right now for the Super Bowl, you have to go out and get some guys in. The one thing you can't control is health, which has been an issue. However, you want to make sure going into the season, you want to make sure you have the best possible roster, and I think they're going to draft a couple linemen coming next week.
Obviously, a big loss, Tyler Linderbaum getting signed by the Raiders in free agency. Daniel Faalele, a 2-year starter, also gone. Regardless of what you think about Daniel Faalele, a 2-year starter. You gave me that look. A 2-year starter also
Addition
gone.
by subtraction.
Ronnie Stanley, the undoubted leader of that group right now. Is there a guy in this class? Because I think my mindset is if you're picking at 14, if you're picking that high, you know, Eric DeCosta said that you're looking for a different kind of guy. I think that that's territory where you can find a borderline Hall of Famer, a guy that could be a staple for your franchise there. Is there a guy, an offensive lineman that you see that could be an immediate plug and play that could be that guy and be a pillar on the offensive line for the Ravens' future?
I think you may not have to go too far. There's a school that the DeCosta family is very familiar with up at Penn State, and there's a lineman that you know very well by the name of
Vango Awane.
Vango Awane, big fella. He's a guy that's going to have the opportunity to be a staple in this league for a long time. Why? He's fundamentally sound. He plays like a Raven. He's aggressive. He's like a dancing bear, as some folks like to say about linemen at times, and he's a guy that you can put in. Are fans going to be excited about him? Absolutely not. But if they aren't, it's because they don't understand football. Like, he's a player that you want to be in your team. The Ravens and Eric DeCosta, honestly, he's hit on the majority of his first-round picks, right? And I think he deserves some credit for that. The tough part is he drafted a center, and you're like, hey, we're going to have our guy, and then he goes and he gets paid like a receiver, right, to go to Oakland. And now he's being punished because it takes away from a line that was already struggling. So you have the opportunity to pull in a young talent like that that's aggressive and that is ready to plug and play now. I think that's a big deal for this team.
You talk about play like a Raven. This is a guy that says he has a mentality where he approaches this at wanting to be the most physical guy on the field. So you got to love that.
Sounds like a Raven.
You got to love that. Well, Eric DeCosta was asked about Vango Awane earlier this week at the Ravens pre-draft press conference.
I think Vega, obviously seen him play a bunch, physical, tough, probably a guard is what he probably is, but sort of prototypes straight from central casting of what you want your guards to look like.
I mean, we talked about his physical traits, but this is also, when you look at the tape, a guy that didn't allow a sack at Penn State in 2 years. That doesn't happen by accident in the Big Ten.
Oh, not at all, and it's a tough place to play. You know, the Big Ten has the best football in college football right now, and I know there are a lot of people that are like, the SEC. No, it's the Big Ten right now, and when you're able to play at that high level for so long and you play for a guy like James Franklin, who, by the way, who runs the ball, the college version of running the ball like the Ravens was Penn State, right? They had a dual running back system, and they were running it up. So you had the opportunity to compete there and not give up a sack, showing the ability, right? It's one thing. They're not out there throwing the ball 50 times a game at Penn State. However, he's shown that he can go out and protect the quarterback. He is a guy that if he's there, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's the pick because he feels a need, and they always say you got the right player, right? He's a guy that you can count on him being ready to play day one.
He's a guard, according to Eric DeCosta, but also is a guy that took snaps as a center at the Combine, so showing maybe some versatility there as well. But when we're talking about versatile linemen, Utah Spencer Fano is another guy that could potentially be there at 14 with the Ravens. Just when you think about that versatility, he's a guy that played tackle at Utah, but maybe could move inside, shorter arms. Any way, do you think the Ravens address the offensive line at 14? For me, it kind of feels like that's how you have to go. You can't spend a whole year complaining about the offensive line and then not address
Yeah, but
that.
the thing about it, if you draft somebody in the first round,
They've got to be a guy. They've got to be a guy.
That's why, to me, I don't get too excited about swing guys. Like, what are you good at now? What can we count on you to be now, right? You don't want to necessarily pick a guy so high and say, oh, he can do multiple things. Well, what is he going to do well for this team? And so sometimes, like, being a master of none, right, hurts you in this process. I think we've kind of seen that, the skill version of that with Travis Hunter, who is a guy that plays, again, I say all the time, he's the best high school player I've ever seen, but he could play at a high level at both. But if you don't work at one consistently, what are you truly? So you don't have the luxury necessarily of saying, oh, hey, we got a few months to get you ready to play this position. No, we need you to play where you're comfortable so you're ready to roll right now. And
for what it's worth, Fano said that he sees himself as a tackle. So maybe that guard, which I believe is a bigger need for the Ravens, maybe that's not quite a fit. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about jerseys. And the Commanders also had some new jerseys as well. Is their black jersey better than the Ravens' black jersey?
According to one person only.
Torrey shares his thoughts when we come back.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The Bottom Line, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome back to Purple Playbook. It's time for something or nothing. I'm going to throw out a topic or a headline. Tori, you tell me if it's something or nothing. I said it. I love player podcasts. They feed the content beast constantly, but they also give great insight. And I do want to start by saying I believe that the clip of Zay going around right now misrepresents the larger conversation that was being had at the time. And I don't think that Zay was taking any shots at John Harbaugh in this segment that we're about to talk about. But he did talk about the practice regimen under John Harbaugh and said that he believes that how hard Harbaugh ran his practices led to the number of injuries that the Ravens, dealt with last year and have dealt with consistently. Do you believe that's something or nothing?
I think it's something for people to hear, simply because, I come from that old school mentality. So to me, actually going to Ravens practices, I thought they were softer than I remembered. However, I know anytime I was in an environment where we were practicing really hard, you're like, man, this is why people are getting hurt, right? I think that's what you immediately go to. The reality of it is unless you're talking about training camp where you had the majority of your days, there's only a certain amount of padded practices you can have. But I understand what Zay is saying about practicing so hard that your legs are sore on the weekends. Yeah. That happened to me a million times during my career in Baltimore and in other places simply because of volume. But now the GPS and sports science that they know, they got to try to protect you a little bit more. But again, I know that feeling of like, man, I'm sore on Friday, and you're trying to get to Sunday and hope you feel great. So I think as a player, you tend to believe that, oh, man, we're practicing hard. That's why people are getting hurt. But I don't necessarily have the facts to back up the feeling that I know is really real.
And Zay said that on Jarvis Landry and Leonard Fournette's podcast, Fourth and South. Great conversation there. Shout out to those guys. A better podcast than I believe I would have originally thought when they first came out with it.
Two good dudes.
But so all right, now we got to talk jerseys. The Commanders also released new jerseys. Got to get your thoughts. They've released an all black, which I'm a fan of. I know maybe you're not, but the all burgundy I think stole the show for these guys. What do you think about the Commanders uniforms?
I like them both. Like I said before, it's hard to mess up an all black uniform. The traditional colors for the Commanders are always going to be classy. I love the burgundy. Look really good.
The arrow
I
through
love
the W.
The arrow through the W. Yeah. I think that looks really good. And when you look at what they were able to do with their fan hats, I'm not a hater. I like to say I'm from Virginia. I never rooted for the Commanders growing up. However, I respect it, and I have a lot of family members that do. So it's really cool to see a lot of change on the Beltway. And, they got a brand new stadium coming in a couple years, so they got to make sure that they have the swag to match this brand new building that's going to be coming soon.
You got to have the play to match it, too. You can't do all that and then,
Look good and be sorry out there.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show. You're watching Purple Playbook.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. Now, WJZ's Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank.
I'm going to continue to say this because I can tell you
you're not expecting Lamar to show
We are going to be here in a week. I'm trying to get ahead of it. My guy already knows here. Lamar ain't coming, all right? If he comes, it'll be the biggest surprise to me.
You tried to escape the smoke last week, but no. We got to bring it to you.
Shout out to Lamar.
You said Lamar wasn't going to be there. You said you'd be shocked. Lamar has been there.
He was there. I was extremely shocked because that part of the season, I know fans hate to hear this. They aren't doing much. It's just really good for a culture perspective to have him there, but I'm shocked. I love that he did it because we're not up here bashing him or his leadership because he's there to run around some cones and be in an hour meeting with his coaches. But I'm happy, man, that, I'm not the only one that got embarrassed. There are folks on national TV that were complaining about him not coming because they had an early show, and then boom, he pops up. So I'm sorry I was here. I was busy last week, so I was able to avoid getting crushed over here. However, I did get a text message right away that guess who's here. So, hey, shout out to Lamar. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, and, we did hear from Declan Doyle the other night as well, and just saying how he's building that relationship and how that's progressing also. So it sounds like Lamar just wasn't that one-off. He's been in the building, been working, and been building that relationship with his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's good, man. And I think, again, to do it this early is really cool by him, to get ahead of it, to understand it, and even more, again, I do truly believe that as a player, the play's not the end of the world. However, optics-wise and leadership-wise and getting the organization moving the right way, it is a big deal.
Absolutely. Last one really quick because we got the draft. What do they do? Your official prediction. One name.
O-line.
Give it to me. Give me
O-line.
the name.
Venga
Owane, the big fella.
State. Big fella from Penn State.
Big fella, according to Torrey. All right, that's going to do it for this week's Purple Playbook. For two-time Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith, I'm Alex Glaze. We got the NFL Draft coming up in just a couple of days. We will be back next week. See you then.